Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Buckle up. Put your seatbelt on. If you're driving, slow down. Stop texting and driving. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's a quote. Something we cannot see protects us from something we do not understand. The thing we cannot see is culture in its intrapsychic or internal manifestation. The thing we do not understand is the chaos that gave rise to culture. If the structure of culture is disrupted unwittingly, chaos returns. We will do anything to defend ourselves against that return. Our guest today is a special person, friend, the Culture Matters podcast. It's actually numerous times they've been on the show, and this is the third part of a series that they are doing with me as it relates to a work in progress, a work of art. And it's perfect because this show is a work in progress. I actually recently realized that this quote that I've been sharing in the beginning of the episode, I had reread it because I say it a lot without reading it. And I sometimes, when I do that, I might forget a word or miss a word and then memorize or internalize the wrong quote because I missed maybe a word that was there very specifically. And I realized a couple days ago that I'd said the quote numerous times without saying one very important piece. If the structure of culture is disrupted, comma, unwittingly, chaos returns. Unwittingly is a very important word. It's there, I think, extremely intentionally. And so our guest, wittingly, intentionally, has arrived today to talk with me about something that we're working on. The one and only Vinnie Candelore Jr. Thank you for
What's
coming
up,
on
man?
the Culture Matters podcast.
Yeah,
And thank you for not sleeping in preparation for this. This is great. It's exactly what we need. And I didn't either. I don't sometimes I don't want to sleep.
yeah, it was definitely an interesting night. I don't think I've had a restless night like that in a long time, and genuinely like had a great day yesterday. So maybe that's why like things feel good for once, and then I'm like I don't know what to do with this. And not that
You,
that's dark. Things feel good all the time, not just for once, but you know, like I don't know.
does your art ever get stuck inside of you?
Does my art? Did you say my art? Yeah. Yes. Like absolutely, man. It's something I fight through all the time. I feel like there's too many ideas, and then figuring out which one is the one. Um, I don't know. I feel like it's like pompous to say like, oh, I have too many ideas. I have too many thoughts. Like, because you know, I think a lot of people have that problem as well. Um, but it just kills me when I don't act on them. Like it does keep me up at night. That's probably it right there. Yeah. Mm. But I feel like I'm making more art than I've ever made. So,
How so?
I mean, I'm just being intentional, Like I'm reading the 30 Days of Thought, I'm writing, um, and so like that's different. I'm actually like I don't know if this is against the rules, but like uh I'm like doodling, uh, with the book as well.
Wow. Wow.
So like just like a little sketchbook. Some of it doesn't even make sense. It's just like squiggles or just doodles. Um, I'm doing a lot of art projects right now, like commissions and things like that. You know, I have some painting pop-up events that I'm going to be doing here in the city. So like the output as far as like what I'm creating um from the medium that I enjoy the most, being painting, has never been higher. But um a lot of the projects that I'm like beginning to work on are future projects like this one that we're talking about today. So it's like I'm not rushing them. Like in the past, I would only be able to work on one project at a time. And like I'd want to work on that one start to finish because I want to stay fully immersed in that one. But I've kind of shifted the approach here over the last few weeks, specifically of working on multiple projects at the same time, and just whichever one I'm like led to that day is the one that I'm bringing up. Now, for deadlines and like, structure, that's a terrible process. And like I think that actually is part of what's weighing on me too, is that I know um I'm like, oh, am I going to end up having to rush this piece because this deadline is coming up? But I've been sitting here with the same 3 layers on this canvas, and I keep being called to this one, which is of equal importance. Which one do I continue to work on? Because when I'm working on this one, it just feels like I'm forcing it because I want to be working on this one. Whereas in the past, when it's the only one I'm forced to work on, then again, it's like, well, am I forcing it again? Because I know there's other projects. Like that's the creative process that people don't talk about enough, is that, um, people think like, oh, artists, they take forever, their process, like, yada, yada, yada. It's all this like fluffy BS. But um, when you try to force a painting, it does not come out the same way as when it naturally, like when you're there. So that then the challenge just becomes trying to put yourself there, um, and create that space in your life so that you can think about the piece that you have to do. Because when you think about it, it comes from the lack of space to think about it. You know what I mean? It's not that the ideas aren't there or like that you're not interested in the piece. To me, it comes from it's lack of preparation. It's why I'm having this Zoom series with you, because every time we have these conversations, more comes to mind. Now, with this specific canvas, with this specific piece that we're talking about, um, I want to, I think what we said on the last episode was like, I want to get into the 30 days of thought. I want to hear a little bit more on this episode and allow you. I mean, you've opened up the Zoom, you're watching some of the introduction to the Peterson Academy. And so, like, I think this episode is going to really shape the direction of the painting a lot because we've communicated more in between the last episode and this one about like the ongoing conversation of the piece, like sharing, ideas and, um, posts together, and even just learning like your personality. Like we've learned that we like the guys from Almost Friday, or is that like their YouTube channel? They make
Mr. DuPont
it.
is going to come on the show. We got to
No
track him
way.
down. No, I mean, I'm just,
Oh, well,
that's a
yeah.
vision.
Still, no way. You'd like to have
Where
more.
is he?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Um, I think they go by Almost Friday on YouTube.
Yeah, but I want him in character for the show, for the whole show.
I love it.
I don't
Uh,
want to know who he is.
yeah. So, what do you love the most
I
about?
want to know who he really is.
Yeah. What do you love about his character?
That was my personality before the fall.
Mm. So you see yourself in those skits.
I,
You know
Mr. DuPont.
who I see. You know who I see like that, and so I can relate. I've shared it with Jenna several times. There's this show on Netflix called I Think You Should Leave. It's Tim Robinson. Brilliant. Like I love his skits. They're amazing. There's a lot of his skits where I see myself, where he's just like, the truth is obviously in the room, and he's just like trying to dance around it to get out of the awkward situation. And I see my former self. I even see my current self at times in that character. And like, to just someone watching it, it's just silly comedy. But when you see yourself in a character like that and they nail it, dude, it's so convicting. So I love that you feel that too. That's so funny. He said Uber for dogs.
Can just give a shout out to this Instagram handle so our listeners can
Yeah.
follow along and not be lost in the morass.
Yeah, sorry. Let me pull it up. You sent one last night. Maybe that's why I couldn't sleep. No, just kidding. You sent it yesterday afternoon. So you sent it from an account that's just entrepreneur, but what's the dude's name?
It's funny because it's interesting because I don't even know, and I see these videos and they're posted by other people,
Yeah. So
and
this,
and and that's fascinating to me. Other channels are posting this person. I don't even know who they are, and
yeah.
it's
So he does multiple characters. There's this group that it's you can't see that. It's almost Friday.tv on Instagram. And he's one of the guy. They have like I don't know if it's a content house or they just get
hmm,
together and whatever, but they make a lot of skits and they're all so like they're just so great. And they have a YouTube channel with like really high production comedy skits that they're doing them themselves. They're writing it. It's really impressive. And that dude that you keep sharing, the guy that does the lectures, um, he's in a lot of their skits. So that's where I found him. I'm assuming I don't know if they tag him Tyler. I don't know if that's his
Tyler. One of the concepts is there's a satirical element to false teachers.
Chester Collins
Hmm.
name.
Follow him.
Chester Collins. His Instagram is Chet Collins, ChetCollins _. Man, say that again though about the satire.
One of the elements of that content is that character is a satire for false teachers.
Mm,
One of the rules, and since we're talking about this painting to represent something of meaning and significance in the hero's journey of Peterson's rise to um, admiration, let's say, represent something of the culture of our times. Rule in book 3, Beyond Order, abandon ideology. Abandon ideology.
mm,
In a sense, what I've learned from maps of meaning, the architecture of belief, like what is belief? And why do people do evil things? Well, it goes back to that original quote I opened up the show with. When the structure of culture is disrupted unwittingly,
mm,
we don't we won't necessarily do things that destroy our life or undermine our ability to keep a deadline or get up when I promised myself I would or call that person back. When the structure of culture is disrupted unwittingly, chaos returns. We will do anything to defend ourselves against that return. Part of that anything is the proclivity towards integrating with an ideology.
mm,
That gentleman that's doing this satirical lecture that we just gave a shout out to on Instagram, he is he's oftentimes mocking false teachers or false concepts like cliches around success and motivation, and like he's
mhm,
highlighting some of the inner contradictions, taking the conversation a bit more deep.
mhm.
It's more
Yeah.
than just ice baths. So one of the rules, and we're doing, we're talking about this Peterson painting. One of the rules in Beyond Order is abandon ideology. We have to, and it's been brought up even, and Peterson's addressed it in various forms, like, you know, what's is this an ideology? What's the difference between an ideology and uh and religion? He's trying to figure that out and
Yeah.
has been his whole career. And who isn't at some level? And the new book, I got it right here. We who wrestle with God is a 500 plus page exploration of somebody trying to figure that out.
Mhm.
So rule 6 is abandon ideology. But when the structure of culture is disrupted, chaos returns. We don't know what, all right, what are we doing? Why? What's my job? What am I being held to account to? Who's he? Why is he here? What's he doing?
Mhm.
Is that my ally or my enemy?
Mhm.
Chaos returns.
Mhm.
We will do anything to defend ourselves against that return. We might even go inward. I'm going to protect this. This is mine. Hey, that's not mine. I don't own that. I own this. And it's the role of leadership to bring order back, bring culture back, bring it back so that
Yeah.
people can see, so that we can see what we're doing, why, where we're going, why. And for our listeners, all of us can learn the, this through. I've been doing this monologue series. I'm on rule 5 in book 3 right now, going through each rule, and they've already been released. If people are listening to this, rule 1 through 12, beyond. And I want to talk a little bit about those rules today because I'd, like your thoughts on some of them. And you've heard me talk about rule 4. Notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been advocated and didn't. Actually, Dr. Peterson taught that at the top contractor school. That was one of 2 rules that he was asked to teach.
Mhm.
Did you have any? And that was a painting that you put together based on that conversation between himself, and the audience. What were you thinking while you were attempting to digest the information being provided while painting a painting in real time? The audience is not aware of this, but you were actually painting a live painting while Dr. Peterson was teaching, 100 plus people in an intimate setting on rule 4 of book 3, Beyond Order, which is notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated, and rule 9 in book 2, 12 rules for life. Assume that the person you are listening to knows something you don't. He was teaching those 2 rules, and you were actually live listening and painting in real time. What was going through your mind?
I was just trying to shut my mind down, like, because when you start painting, like you're physically. My goal there, and I know this again, this sounds like so out there, but like my goal is to take the feeling that I have from what he says and whatever the instinct gut reaction of like a color or a shape or a figure or a person or a word or a I don't even know what it is. Maybe it's even like an aggression. Like there's been times where I've done paintings like this where like I've the painting that like I punched the painting, like I punched the canvas a few times. And like it's not it's not so much about, what I'm painting or how it's coming across. It's just it's moving myself out of the way and while understanding that the way that I'm receiving that is unique to me. um, the way that I'm receiving the words he speaks is I'm only, and that was part of one of the things I wrote down from 30 Days of Thought was, and I actually have it written on the canvas over there, was what I know isn't always truth. Um, so
Mm.
like the feeling that I get from what he says isn't the truth. It is like my perception of the truth with the information that I have. So like the conclusion I come to from what he says is not absolute truth because I'm missing. We're all in that room with different landing points based off what he says. A word, like you said, like one word can change the way you look at a whole, you know, uh a whole quote or a whole
Yeah,
moment.
yeah. I want to say because that I want to hold on that for a second. The unwittingly, that's a massive component of this thesis. Like we unintentionally do things that undermine our lives. The omission is as tenacious as the lie, destructive, undermining.
Mhm.
Let me not say this in the meeting.
Yeah.
That's what that's so
Yeah.
unwittingly. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to destroy everyone, everything and everyone and myself.
Yeah. I think the I think the thing that like comes to mind when you say that is if it's unwittingly, is it omitted or is it genuinely I don't know how to say this, but like or you just don't have the information to make the right move or the right action or the right, assessment because, you know, what I what I know isn't always truth. But if I'm seeking the truth and I'm asking people to guide me that I trust and I'm leaning into that, I should trust that, you know, whatever the result is what God intends. Whatever the, could because chaos to some is not chaos to others because truth to some is not truth to others. Is that true or is that I don't know if that even makes sense. Um, because in order to get to, the Peterson Academy, that's causing chaos in the world of education and in the institutions. And, you know, so is he wrong for doing it because it's causing chaos, but it's creating
Mm.
opportunity for the unheard and the unreached and the unloved and the unspoken and the people that it's the bridge, it's like he's leaving the chaos to the promised land of truth and like whatever that means. It's abandoning the ideology that is old and dead because he sees a vision for what can be. And these people there's brilliance dying. It's the artwork that dies inside of me because I don't have proper time management in my day, or because I just want to spend an extra hour or two with my kids instead of like being in my head. So like I'm relating myself to this because
Mm.
man, like I'm losing sleep over it. Like I'm in it, man. Like and I my heart goes out to like anybody that's also in that. Sorry, I just bumped my because like it is uncomfortable. And I've never been in this like this. Like I have just had my head buried in the sand for most of my life. And people that know me wouldn't say that about me, I don't think. I think they would think I have always had like a pretty good head on my shoulders, but when they weren't with me all the time. So, there's things that I'm working through from my past that's chaos that I don't want to return to. that people didn't even know was chaos. So there's so many different paradigm shifts when like you said, the unwittingly, it's like it's a huge shift because if you don't know, you don't know. So who's
Mm.
responsible?
One of the arguments being made is voluntary taking on voluntary suffering. The hero takes on voluntary suffering. The coward being unwilling to.
Mm-hmm.
There's a degree in cowardice. There's a degree of cowardice as an inevitability of achieving one's aim. It's
Say that
like,
again. Say that again.
all right, we just won the Super Bowl.
Thanks.
What's next?
Yeah.
How long is play and recognition? What type of play and recognition happens after, and what are the consequences? The there's a commercial, an old commercial where the player just won the game, or and they're doing the bench, and they say, I'm going to take a rest, and
Yeah.
they just do it for a second, and then they go back.
Mm-hmm.
In rule 4 of Beyond Order, notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. Osiris is the patriarch of the culture. Osiris is the leader of his people. Osiris stops paying attention.
Mm.
What is this thousands of year old story trying to teach us? When Osiris stopped paying attention, what we pay attention to is based on our vision. And there's a moral, there's an implicit moral relationship between vision, because there's more than one self. There's our current self and our future self and our past self, which influences both. Osiris stops paying attention, which infers his future self, his current self was coming before his people's current self. Because there's a sacrifice. If I'm working, I'm sacrificing my current self consumption for my future self. And in that sacrifice, my current self, others' current selves benefit. So Osiris is the leader of this people, and he stops paying attention, which infers a lack of vision and the implicit moral actions and interactions, sacrifice. And when Osiris, so this is like Osiris stops paying attention, his brother Seth kills him. Seth representing malevolence, like the lowest of us,
Mm-hmm.
and scatters his body all across the land. And it's Osiris's son, Horus, who comes as a consequence of Tiamat, Osiris's wife, that represents chaos, renewal, creativity. Taken too far, it can destroy the culture, but it ultimately gives birth to culture in Horus. Because Tiamat, this is a little odd, but ultimately has relations with the dead corpse, like the remains of Osiris.
Mm.
Now an orphan is born, Horus, the son of Osiris, void of order. He has to struggle to get order, take on voluntary suffering.
Mm-hmm.
But in this story, Horus can see. Horus has sight.
Yeah.
So I can see the problem. Others cannot see or are unwilling to see, meaning
Mm-hmm.
they can see it, but they're unwilling to speak it and admit it. I can see it, and I'm willing to sacrifice. Horus loses his eye, killing Seth. He
Mm.
fights Seth. He fights evil. He takes on voluntary suffering. So the individual who, under pressure, can see and speak and live truth rescues his father from the underworld and reintegrates because Horus goes to the underworld and rescues Osiris. What is this story teaching us? That the hero takes on voluntary suffering and reintegrates the culture. When the culture, when order is disrupted by chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Seth wants Osiris's place without doing the work. Seth resents Osiris's abdication of leadership. Seth does not respect Osiris. Osiris is no longer respectable. It has to be re-earned every day. The player doesn't want to win for the coach.
Mm.
So the player kills the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility is abdicated. In that chapter, in that rule, Doctor is saying, don't disengage, go all in. Find, and you'll be rewarded, whether it's in this life or this career or the next. So notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. The individual, we're the intermediary. That's the argument between order and chaos. Take on voluntary suffering. Where are you going? What's your aim? And am I willing to sacrifice my current self for my future self? And to
Mm.
what end? And how do I do it?
Yeah.
In simple terms, like, do I keep my word?
Mm-hmm.
No. Well, then I am leaving myself open to malevolence.
Yeah.
How strong is my word? How
Yeah.
much truth can I handle? Nietzsche, this I don't have it memorized, but the spirit of an individual relates to how much truth they can handle.
Um, and to be honest, like as you're saying all that, I see myself in each one of those people in the story.
The
I don't
strength
know
of
if
a
that.
person's spirit would then be measured by how much truth he could tolerate, or more precisely, to what extent he needs to have it diluted, disguised, sweetened, muted, falsified. You're saying you see yourself as what about all of us? This is
Yeah.
like
Oh,
all of us, like individuals. There's components of all of our personality. Our personality, there's components of all that like of every movie we watch. There's components of our personality that's reflected in each character, and whichever one is most heightened in that given moment. 20 people are watching the same movie and they're going to identify most with one of the characters. That's why, like Jonathan Pageau in his work talks a lot. He's one of the teachers in Peterson Academy. He talks a lot about and really elaborates on this beautifully, like the demonic. Like what does a demon look like?
mm,
It's like an admixture of all these personalities. It's unclear. There's not integration of the personalities. The worst of us has risen to the top, and the best of us is
mm-hmm.
it's upside down. It's not everything in its proper place. Subdue. It's not everything is not in their proper place.
Mm.
Everything is not in its proper place. But go on, you which character or what were you
Uh,
most identifying with, or are you thinking at certain times?
yeah, it's definitely like maybe all of those characters every day, but in different relationships. Like someone texted me the other day and they were like, "How you been, man?" And I was like, Dude, I'm great. I'm getting absolutely bent over in some areas of my life and like thriving in others. So status quo, everything's great. Like, it's I mean, it's not just unique to me, but um yeah, I feel like that's why when I, like you said, when you watch a superhero movie or, like even the villain, I feel like I watch those movies sometimes. Yeah, what a good superhero movie is not good without a really cool story of the villain to me. Like I want to know the villain and why he's the villain. And a lot of the great superhero movies, like the superhero is like one decision, one word away from being known as the villain. And if you watch the movie back or you write it through the villain's viewpoint, it's like law-abiding citizen. Like who's the villain? Like who's wrong? Who's um obviously like killing is the worst of us, and you know that's the part we try to avoid. That's the chaos we try to make sure never comes back in us, but it's there. And like, is it there because you want it to be there, or is it there be out of like survival? Like, you know it's such a scary thought, to be honest with you. Like, like what would push you to become, a lot, like from the movie. You've seen the movie Law Abiding Citizen.
No.
So essentially, like these guys break in, they kill his entire family, and then he's like, unable to protect them. Um, and
Hmm.
then the justice system doesn't punish the people who did it. So his whole mission now in the movie is to get back at the justice system who let these men go. And like while doing that, he's killing like the judge, he's killing like, these people that who
Mm.
the people who omitted the truth, he's
Mm.
killing them, who are innocent people to like most viewers of the movie, other than those small little omissions that led to these men walking or getting off of this heinous crime of like killing and, his wife and kid. So in front of him. So then, at the end, um, I won't give the end of the movie.
Wow.
It's a great movie. I would recommend watching it. But man, it's like one of those movies where it's like who's the villain here? Like, are they all just living in this world?
That's a great, what a great, what a powerful for
Yeah.
this. So rule one in Beyond Order, right? Book three is do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Social institutions as in the culture that is implicitly giving us the opportunities we have not only to live and to prosper, but even to critique it and improve it. I'm not going to carelessly denigrate my employer, like carelessly,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm benefiting from all this stuff that
Right.
I wasn't the genesis of.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean don't critic, judge or critique the culture or judge or critique the society.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the lesson in that rule. Master it before you critique it. Do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievements. Creative achievements, you know, look, oh, fuck that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Look how successful he is. Well, you don't know his story, where he hit, he, she, where they came from, what they went through. You could look at it and say a lot of things to take away their power, what they could represent. The rule of like, so it's interesting that movie. It's interesting. The
Right.
institutions, as a consequence of the culture, you're saying they're not living up to their role and responsibility as it relates to protecting this individual.
Mhm.
His family is a part of his individuality. They're not doing anything outright malevolent or illegal. You're saying it was more of they're not living to the expectation.
Yeah, and
Because
there's
you said
I
omission,
haven't
you didn't
seen
say
yeah, I haven't seen the movie. It's probably
what
been
degree of corruption. That's what I'm
5 years.
curious.
Yeah, there's certain people in there that are, like, more corrupt than others,
Got it.
and there's certain people that, like, it was just like they had you know, one thing they could have done differently or whatever, and he ends up, taking them out
So,
because
but
it
this is where I'm going with this. When the structure of culture is disrupted, when the organization becomes corrupt,
Mhm.
the individual is living too much of life's paradox is on their shoulders. Like you can't what's right or wrong.
Mhm.
Too much, right? Self-defense. I had to kill them in
Mhm.
self-defense because I would have died.
Mhm.
But like the system is supposed to protect me, where like I don't need to have self-defense to protect my family. Like the police are supposed to do that. That's
Yeah.
their job. But
Yeah.
I got to do it.
Yeah.
What are the consequences to me as a human, as an individual, as a soul?
Mhm.
So, like when the system fails, too much pressure is on the individual.
Yeah.
And that movie seems like it's interesting. Like, is it a critique of our society? Is it what lesson is in that movie? What lesson is that in that movie? This
Yeah.
person is taking on more than he should.
Yeah.
He's seeking justice for himself to create some order in
Yeah.
himself. It's too much order. And like, so the journey of the villain is taking on too much of themselves,
Mm.
not putting the world back together, but almost like inverting or putting it all on themselves, like a black hole. Like anyway, in that story though of Horace, right?
Mhm.
I guess wait, what? Oh, you didn't want to give away the ending. Well, I guess I'm gonna watch it and then we could do a whole episode on
Okay.
this thing.
I love that movie.
Why?
Man, for it just certain people end up getting killed. Not to give it away. Again, I don't want to ruin the movie for anybody who's not seen it, but it's been out for like 20 years, 15 years. So like
Oh wow.
I think so. I mean, I remember watching it in college. The first time I ever seen it was
Like
on
this movie.
a bus on the way to an away football game in college when I was playing. And I remember we had like a 10-hour bus ride to like Southern Connecticut State or something like that, and we just had a bunch of movies we'd put on, and that was one of them. And I remember on like watching it on a screen smaller than like this laptop where it's like this big, I'm like 4 rows back from it, just like leaning into my seat because basically, I mean, and again, like it's been a while since I watched it. I wish if I knew we were going to talk about it on here, I'd have refreshed myself, but I didn't plan for this, obviously. But um, I think like part of the reason why he ends up taking out some of these people is because he gives them an opportunity um, to make a decision.
Mm.
And he tells them, regardless of like, if you make this decision, again, I might be butchering this, but like, um, if you make this decision, like, it's over, like, you're going to die. And then you see it from their perspective on why they made that decision and they still die. And he knows that they were put against a wall, but now it's his word that he has to ring true because if his word isn't true in finishing them even when they probably don't deserve it, um then his whole fight against the system is flawed because what he's saying is your word is your word. Like if you're if you say this is what we all agree upon, then you don't go against that. And if that means an innocent person dies, then that's actually continuing to resist the chaos. It's bringing order because it's making your word sound. Now that's where, like, you go, that's where people become dictators,
Yes, yes,
you know?
yes, yes.
Like
We,
that's
t-
where that's the
we,
ideology that you have to surrender, right? So, and be willing to listen. So,
yes,
man, like that to me is um
yes.
that's the hard part is like, well, what's the line between when do I become a dictator? Like, or when do I draw the line and, allow the chaos that I perceive, by not following through on my word because now I'm in chaos because all the things I've been fighting for are invalid if I'm not even going to keep my word. Dude, it's
Re-
just this whole.
here's we rejection of the unknown is so rejection of the unknown, you know, we don't need to ask questions like look into the unknown. We don't need to, let's not upset the alcohol cart. Let's, you know, let's not create problems out of thin air.
Mhm,
Rejection of the unknown is tantamount to identification with the devil, the mythological counterpart and eternal adversary of the world's creating exploratory hero. The hero searches out, where are the problems? What needs to be worked on? What isn't going right? The hero is present in the fact of nature that it's constant, things are constantly out of equilibrium.
mhm,
They're constantly fractured. There's something going wrong. Something's not working. Because what's once worked, right? Osiris stops paying attention. The world wasn't waiting for him to go back to work. The world was moving, changing, evolving.
mhm,
Other people want, or other nations want what that nation has. Another species somewhere in the galaxy wants Earth,
mhm,
and they will take it. So the rejection of the unknown is tantamount. Okay, the counterpart and eternal adversary of the world creating exploratory hero. Hero, anti-hero. There's friction. There's always an anti-hero. There's no hero.
mhm.
Hero of what? Without the struggle. Such rejection and identification is a consequence of Luciferian pride, which states all that I know is all that is necessary to know.
Yeah.
Now, what you were saying, like, when do we, the dictator, there's a difference between dictator and decision.
What do you mean?
If I'm making the executive decision, it doesn't mean, so like if there's two extremes, it's like abdicating responsibility. I'm just not going to make any decision. Tyrant. No one, no one's agency is irrelevant. No one's thoughts, feelings, and emotions matter. And if they share them, there'll be repercussions.
Mm.
They're going to a camp.
Yeah.
They're done. They're gone. Those are two extremes. So one person in a position of authority, influence, and power, right? On one extreme, tyrant. All I know is that all that I know is all that is necessary to know. And if you think you know something that is necessary to know, God forbid you share it. there'll be repercussions.
Hmm.
The antithesis of recognizing truth. There'll
Yeah.
be repercussions for truth.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one extreme. The other extreme, I'm in a position of authority, influence, and power. I'm not going to make a decision.
Yep.
Both lead to hell. The hero, the exploratory hero, is the mediator. Because
Does the hero actually have to end up dying? Like,
it's interesting. Like well, in a knowledge sense, we die every day if we're learning.
yeah.
So like what I think it's a mathematician. He wrote a book with Bertrand Russell. He was, your thoughts die, not so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like something in this conversation might leave us to improve our behavior when we leave this,
Right.
and the audience as well. It would be one of the attracting qualities of listening to this is as human beings, we're attracted to not dying. And our thoughts can help us not die.
We should title this one How to Not Die.
Part 3, is this the third one?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're listening, you can decide what the title is because you have agency.
Yeah.
This isn't a tyranny, but you better do it or there'll be repercussions.
Yeah.
So, because I'm not titling someone else is titling this, but
No, no,
it's
I
funny.
won't
There's a
be.
lot of pressure now.
Yeah. If it's
No,
not,
but like we can influence it
said should.
if it's a good idea.
Dude, we're just gonna regress into like what?
So, yeah,
So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I love like what this has done, just in the sense. Do you want me to show you what I got on the canvas so far? Like I said, it's not
Does that help this cause? Like, is that a part of
well,
your process that would be like, is it too, I don't, I'm not, I don't know. I don't know
yeah, I
if
mean,
that's the right thing to do. I don't feel like, I don't believe I'm the expert at that.
does what help? Does this conversation help or does revealing part of the painting help?
Does revealing part of the painting add value to your process or appease this medium? Like, there's no, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do believe we said that we would share on this
Oh, did
episode.
we?
I think we did. So I don't want to go back on our word. I
Well,
haven't.
I don't want to get killed by whoever's listening to this. That could
True.
be this Jared
Yeah,
Gerard Butler guy.
right.
Because I
Like
looked
someone.
up the actors from that movie and Law
Yeah.
Abiding Citizen. I
Mhm.
don't want any yeah, anti-heroes coming after me.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so let's see what you got.
The painting. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So I'll just give a little. Uh, I'll give you a little view of it over here. I'm gonna go for a walk so I don't get sick. But um, we talked about the bridge, and so then last year I went and saw the Golden Gate Bridge for the first time, and so I wanted to use gold as like the base. I thought about covering the whole canvas in gold, and just letting that be the base, but then I was like, so I actually that was what I decided I was gonna do. I was gonna just like layer the whole base layer in gold. And so when I do that, I usually just like pour the bottle on the canvas and
Mm.
it turns into just a quick way to like spread it, and cover the whole thing. And the way that I like poured it out of the bottle, I actually had a camera on it when I was doing it. And the way I poured it out of the bottle, It almost resembled the way the paint was running down like support beams on a bridge. And so I was like, huh, like I kind of like structured it like Pittsburgh has these three bridges, the sister bridges in there, and it kind of reminded me of that. So then I just took like a towel and I like wiped it, and that
Mm.
became um the like road, you know? And then I wrote the like as I was getting some of the stuff from 30 Days of Thought, like the things that I told you about that I wrote down in the book, I also wrote some of those onto the canvas. So this will be the under painting to the painting. So this won't be the direction per se of like what the final piece will look like. But my goal for this is to just let this sit here for a few days and let it like kind of speak and then
Yeah.
start layering on top of that. So I'll just like I said, it's probably not like much to write home about yet,
Oh,
but
wow.
I loved the way this bridge just like, started to create itself. Like I started pouring the paint here just to like, or like here. I can't remember. It was here or here at these peaks. And I just went like this and I was like, huh, let's keep that going. I poured a little too much on this side, but I love the way it kind of washed. And then I used that to swipe it. And you could see like after I swiped it, it continued to even like run down over.
Wow. I love this already.
And so then this was the other thing that I wrote down from the book here. Um,
Hmm.
Intelligence is the bridge from the unknown to the known. And so there's my presentation to the audience
Wow.
so that nobody shows up and, tells me I'm not a man of my word and tries to take out my family.
Ha.
But I'm really excited to like play with this painting. I think that's one of the things that I learned from Dr. Peterson is the importance of playing as an artist. And that goes back to one of the first things that I said um, in this episode about the process of creating multiple things at once. I watch my kids, and I'll do one last little tour here. I'm in my studio in my basement, and one of my favorite things about it is if I turn this camera around right here, so the people listening, I'm turning my camera around. My kids' playroom is right there.
Wow.
Both of my kids, like it's a little messy, so forgive me. They play all weekend, and I hang out down here and I paint, and they're playing over there, and I learned so much watching them. And so like what is playing? Like what does it look like? They don't play with every toy every day. They play with the one, to be honest, the ones they play with the most are the ones that I'm the most enthused to play with them with. Like if I'm excited to throw the football, he wants to throw the football. If I'm excited to play checkout at the register, my daughter's excited to run a business. You
Mhm.
know, if I'm like sitting there like this, like just like, talking with a Barbie and like I'm thinking about everything else. She knows that I'm not into the play. So
Hmm.
she'll try to get another toy or like let's read a book or let's this. And so
Wow.
it's like for me, okay, well if I'm supposed to channel that innocence that, you know, what calls me to a painting? The same way what calls her to a toy. Well, what calls me to something is that I think it's going to connect me to somebody that I think I love, to somebody that will make me feel fulfilled to be connected to, inspire others. Like, because then when she sees me playing, and that's the other part about it. If I get too overly into playing with a particular thing with one or the other one resents that thing.
Mm.
So, like, Veda, my daughter,
Wow.
she used to be okay with like sports. She used to play soccer. She used to play t-ball. But when my son started getting really into it, she she said, "I don't want to play anymore." And so we're working through that because I don't want her to avoid things because her brother likes them. And the reason he likes them is because he saw me encouraging her doing them at a young age. I'm not forcing that on him. So I'm learning so much from my kids in that playroom and being down here and watching them. Sometimes I'll just stop a painting mid progress and I'll just go sit down and take the Barbies and I learn more about her when I'm talking like a Barbie than I do when I'm talking to
Hmm.
her, you know? Because I'm like, all right, well, what would you do in this situation? I'm like, hey, hi, Veda, nice to meet you. And she's like, I cried today. And I'm like, oh, what about? And it's
Oh,
like,
wow.
it's wild. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I do think that revealing the painting is something we should do on this episode. So if you're listening to this, maybe go. I'm sure we
YouTube.
have shared it at some point. Go to YouTube, watch this on
It's on,
YouTube,
yeah, it's
or
on YouTube. Yeah.
okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to evolve. Like this painting, obviously, like by the time I think we release this, the painting will be have a whole different life form. Uh,
Yes. I mean, we still have 24 rules to go through.
all right, I'll block off the rest of 2025.
Yeah. I mean, it just, brief, if you're listening to this and you don't have 12 rules for life, buy it and read it and follow along. Go listen to the series on the Culture Matters podcast, where I'm going through each rule, having read the chapter as a student, highlighted what sparkled, gone to Word and elaborated on my notes arduously, and then reread those, and then cast them aside and taught and thought my way through that process live on a show. And that's I've been in that process for some time. If you're listening to this, it's they should all be up, or I'm gonna get Gerard Butler coming after me. How about that for some accountability? He's the main actor in this law-abiding citizen, law-abiding culture citizen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, rule one, stand up straight with your shoulders back. Rule two, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Rule three, make friends with people that want the best for you. And I won't say all 24, but I could. I've been really taking some, putting a lot of energy into this, and have benefited from it. And that's part of what
Yeah.
this painting is about, right? We have a teacher who stood up against an institution based on what they believed in their soul was true. And from that, there are millions of people that have believe they've benefited. And me being one of those people, here we have this show, and we are presenting this recognition, this painting to exemplify this teacher's hero's journey and all of those that have come into contact with their word, their thought, their deed. So um I'd like to go in that direction. And the more that I think the more that we go through some of these rules, um and y- who knows what the heck is going to come through you as another medium of expression, something that's important to this teacher art, something that's important for culture matters, art, and how a society expresses its psyche. Art is one of those expressions of psyche of the times that can teach us about ourselves and help us navigate the unknown, navigate through the chaos. So, if you're listening to this, tune in for more of these. We've got a lot more to talk about. In fact, we're on, from a maps and meaning standpoint, we're really on page one, because there's a preface and then there's one. object and meaning. The world can be validly construed as forum for action or place of things.
Oh man.
If you're listening to this, follow Vinny. What Instagram? What is that?
Oh, I changed my Instagram probably since we started this.
So, which one are they going to listen to or click?
So I changed it because I was restructuring my YouTube channel, so I'm not trying to like change my identity here. Um, I also though have been trying to figure out like, do I want to be known as Vinny or Vincent? Like,
Hmm.
so not that they're two different people, but I've never went as Vincent.
Well, but Pagio would argue that they are different.
Hmm.
uh, uh, if
Yeah. Follow VC2ART for now.
you're listening to this, give us a break, leave us a review, and tell the truth. Send this to somebody who you think would enjoy this conversation and follow along. Go listen to the 12 Rules, Beyond Order, monologues. Follow Vinny, share this. Thank you for listening and stay tuned. We got a lot more to go through. And um, Vinny, this was great. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me come on here and throw out my thoughts of last night that were rampant. I would love to just hear more from you on your own podcast on the next episode because I feel like I talked a lot on this one.
Oh, you did no, not enough, but we have to do. Well, thanks, and thanks for the movie recommendation. Now that I've given myself permission to watch movies, first of all,
Oh,
I've seen too many, in too short of a time, so I'm about to undo 2 years of discipline. Uh, and but this this will be the last one. No, it won't. But yeah, thanks for the movie recommendation. And this has also been really helpful to me because hopefully our listeners have taken notice. The more I do these types of conversations, I recorded 7 monologues that in the last 48 hours.
wow.
That used to just be called talking to oneself. Now, outside of the shower, that would put people in institutions. Now it's called a podcast. And I have been doing more of that than ever. In fact, yeah, I've got
So great.
13 more to do before Wednesday so I can keep this commitment to myself. And these types of conversations with friends and colleagues and everyone, different contexts of humans, has been helping me. In fact, one last thing, I think I may have recorded the best episode of the Culture Matters podcast in the history of the show.
Wow.
From my lens as host, what day is it? Saturday, so Thursday night with the one and only Janine Driver, episode 3 of the Culture Matters podcast, a true ally from day one. And the reason I thought it was the best was because we unpacked a topic of interest to the current like general milieu of like who listens to these types of shows around a legal action between Cardone Ventures and one of their investments.
Mm,
She was breaking down their body language, the body language. She's an expert in the world, top expert in the world on body language analysis, and
wow.
did that on her show. I watched it as an observer, and then she shouted out Culture Matters. We then recorded a Culture Matters. I interviewed her based on my notes of her breakdown, and then I shared my analysis based on culture and business and investments and so on, leadership, based on the due diligence that I did, studying the people involved, the action, the legal action, the business, and man, it was such a great mix of interviewing a subject matter expert, sharing my subject matter expertise, going back and forth. We're both a bit hypomanic, so managing not to talk over one another, and her, being such a success, anchoring the show, um, and a topic that people like a topic, right, that people would be interested in. And I
Yeah.
felt that would made it the best episode so far on the show, as far as like integrating my various personalities as an individual. And even more cool, Janine is sharing the stage where we're going to be presenting this, just coincidentally, this painting that we're working on for Jordan. She's one of the speakers, along with Jesse Itzler and a handful of others that and so, we're all just one big family culture. So to have that episode do it, and we recorded at 10 p.m. So like that was even
Is
cooler too, because it was like
I
all
know it's
night.
out. I know it's out
That'll
as
be
of
out. That'll be out Monday, as far as like when we're
Monday.
talking.
Okay.
Yeah. So the listeners have already listened to this. If they listen to the show every day, because we want them to do nothing other than listen to the show.
Right.
So they should be listening to only the show every day. Or if they don't know, it's probably episode. I could tell you, it'll be episode. Today's Saturday, right?
Correct.
Episode 840. Wait, yeah, episode 843. It should be.
Somewhere in there.
No, it should be episode 843, season 71 or season 72 of the Culture Matters podcast with Janine Driver and me. And the topic would be something around like, Cardone Brecca analysis. There's like this big cultural dispute. And so she analyzed it from body language and I analyzed it from company culture.
Wow.
And it was like a powerful, we're going to be doing a lot of shows together, probably like some kind of series like body language culture
Oh wow.
or something
Uh,
like that.
You said she was on episode 3?
Yeah, go listen to that too. Season 1. Yeah,
Wow.
she's been a long time, mentor around body language, friend, and yeah, she's awesome. Janine Driver, great books. You Can't Lie to Me is one of her books. I think she has 4. She has a new one coming out on statement analysis, like 36 statements that reflect a certain type of thinking or psychology. So yeah, if you're listening to this, go tune into that, pick up her books, and follow Vinny. And yeah, we'll see you next time. We're just getting into the thick of it, so don't quit on us now if you're listening to this. We'll see you in episode 1782.